Here, that Stonehenge was an observatory. So it was used to chart the movement of the sun and the moon. And people have suggested that the Neolithic peoples living in Stonehenge or using Stonehenge would have been able to predict eclipses. We can also see that the summer solstice rises over the heel stone, so it does appear to have been astronomical in nature. Now, somewhat recently, they found what's being referred to as the Workers' Village, and it's a site called Durrington Wells. They found up to 25 houses. The last time I had checked, they had excavated about 8, but it has been a little while. They might have more done by now. And carbon-14 dating shows us that it was occupied around 4600 BP. And at Durrington Wells, there is evidence of a wood henge that was oriented for the midwinter sunrise. We see a lot of stone tools, animal bones, arrowheads, a multitude of other artifacts. We also have found 9-month-old pig bones, which indicates that there was a winter slaughter and perhaps a celebration for winter solstice. Now, the megaliths, besides the fact that they just look cool, I mean, that's a lot of energy and so forth, but they probably did function to reinforce community and kinship ties, as well as kind of supporting the social hierarchy that was developing and emergent ideologies. Now, a culture that kind of emerges during this Neolithic time is called the funnel beaker, and it is a marker of social change. So we see a lot of long-distance trade here, and which is kind of setting us up then for the copper and bronze ages, which are going to emerge when those trade routes become pretty critical. So at the end of the Neolithic, the next period is referred to as the Copper Age or the Chalcolithic Age. And again, these dates vary by region. Whenever they adopt copper into their cultures, when they get into the Copper Age. So some of the earliest ones show up around 6500 BP. So Copper Age life is basically the same as the early Neolithic, except that there's a lot more display behavior. So we see some changing social roles. We see wealth being displayed, again, in the form of a lot of copper and gold, not necessarily for tools, but for this waste behavior, putting it in burials and so forth. Some of the other statuses or status items that show up are obsidian and flint blades and groundstone tools. We do start to see larger settlements. Again, indication of this agricultural lifestyle is expanding. We often find them associated with earthwork enclosures. We see the domestication of the horse occur on the Pontic steppe, and the horse pretty quickly on starts to become a status marker. One of the big finds of the Copper Age, the Chalcolithic, comes in the form of a human body that was found in the Alps in 1991, and this particular individual is referred to as the Iceman or Ötzi. Now, through dating of the remains, we've come up with a date between 5300 and 5200 BP. And what's great about Ötzi is it actually gives us the snapshot of Copper Age life in Europe. Now, we know he died in late summer or early autumn based on some of the things that were found with him. He probably died from complications from an arrow wound. So they actually found an arrowhead embedded below his left shoulder and probably died a few days after that. And how do we know? It's because the bone did not have time to heal before this individual died. And then soon after that happened, he was covered with heavy snowfall, and that's what preserved him so well. So this particular gentleman was around 45 years old when he died, and we found all sorts of artifacts with him. We found tin alloys in his hair and also in his lungs, which indicates to us that he was actually a coppersmith. Because of the tissue preservation, we have been able to look at the tattoos that this individual had on his lower back and also on his left leg, his right ankle, and his right knee. We found clothing with him, fur leggings and fur hat, leather shoes that had straw stuffed in them for warmth, and a goat hide coat, also a grass cloak. And the toolkit included, of course, some copper axes, but there was also a quiver and arrows. Some weren't finished and some were broken. We found a backpack on this particular individual, and in the backpack we actually found a medicine kit. So we found some funguses that have a natural antibiotic. It could also be used as a laxative. Again, this is really important because it gives us a snapshot into at least one individual's life during Copper Age Europe. So here are some pictures of a few of the artifacts that were found with Ötzi.